would you condemn sexual assault victims if Plattner had stayed in the race and they said
We're
they
not
didn't
voting.
want to vote for Plattner?
Yeah.
Either you're a sociopath
Did you see how quickly
or
I just bit that book? Wait, I
There's-
might have different language for them. I would maybe be like, I certainly would, because I'm a human, but I would condemn that action, right? So would you.
I'm a bit incredulous.
So would you,
like,
right?
no,
Wait, what?
absolutely not. Like, what? No, Pisco. If a victim was like,
Okay.
I am not comfortable voting for Plattner, I would not say like, well, you owe it to America and Maine. I'd be like, I mean, listen, I get it. It's fucking rapist. Like, obviously, it's just like, no.
I thought we were about harm reduction here. I thought we were about harm reduction. It seems like you have some other.
Yeah, but I'm not a
other thing motivating
psychopath at
you.
the same time. Like, and I just like,
Yeah,
what?
but like,
Listen, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm good. I'm very, very good.
okay, that's good. That's good.
This feels like a moment that's kind of been a long time coming. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. It really is. It really is just the longest time coming.
Wait, why?
I have a concern, Hutch.
Don't cover the mic when you talk.
Oh, my bad. I was just being dramatic. You mean the long time coming being the whole Hasan discourse?
Yeah, it's kind of centered around him, but I think it's about something that's like bigger than him as well. But yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I have something different to bring up and maybe related, but maybe related. Okay.
Okay.
And this is the different thing that I have that may be related to bring up is a concern of mine because I'm seeing it in certain places. I'm seeing whispers of it. And it's something that I wanted to bring to your attention.
Why do I feel like I'm
Is that
being
fair?
ambushed right now? Are you about to bring
You're
up like
not
my
being
2008
ambushed.
tax returns or something? What is this?
No, everything is fine.
You make me
Why is
nervous.
everyone's monka giga? No, everything is good. Well, not everything is good because I'm seeing the rumblings, and the rumblings are as follows. People want Abdul El Sayed to lose his election against Mike Rogers. What do you think of that?
Well, we talked about this.
Are you seeing that? But are you seeing that?
I follow a lot of people, and I would say there are maybe like four or five people that I follow that are, purely out of spite. And they lay it on real thick, that spite. They want him to lose. Everybody else that I follow, like the normie libs or the libs that you might call more moderate, are kind of pissed at El Sayed because they feel like he's made bad decisions that are, impacting the rest of the party, and he's putting Democrats in a difficult position. That's just what I see out there. Where are you seeing these sentiments?
I'm seeing rumblings. It's in the reply you see in a tweet. It's in the way he's being spoken of. It's this kind of resignation to defeat that I'm sensing. I can't put a number on it. I can't define it for you. And I can't even present you evidence of it at this moment.
Okay.
But I feel it. Do you feel it as well? There's non-trivial amounts of people who desire his loss, ostensibly for the benefit of the Democratic Party.
Well, I guess we would have to quibble about what's trivial versus non-trivial. Some people are saying that. I think most people I follow definitely want to win that seat. Are you frustrated with Abdul El Sayed? I'm just curious.
In what respect? Yes, of course. He says some stupid shit about court reform that I think was very uncalibrated. So yeah, that frustrates me.
No, I mean,
he also is kind of like a dork sometimes. That frustrates me.
I'll tell you why I'm frustrated with Abdul El Sayed. Number one is because I want to pick up as many seats as possible because I do think that we could have like a crazy map in 2028. But we got to pick up the seats now to make our job easier in 2028. And the second reason I'm frustrated is because I think that, you can make an argument for a candidate like El Sayed using Hasan's clout to raise their name recognition in a race like a primary. But as soon as that's over, you fucking cut ties for obvious reasons. immediately. Mamdani had the good sense of doing that, and he was running in a D plus 35 city, for Christ's sakes. But
Mamdani cut ties totally with Hasan Piker?
Right away. Just condemned him
I wasn't aware of that.
Right away. I think he did it even during the primary, if I'm not mistaken.
I recall him condemning specific statements of Hasan Piker.
Well, yeah, but
no, I mean, yeah,
he did, but he hasn't had any kind of appearance with him since, or any kind of interaction with him. You know, so
and El Sayed has
the night the night of the primary, Hasan was like there at the event. He was invited there. And then
I think Hasan was invited to Mamdani's victory.
I think that's true. I think that's true as well. So maybe that's out of bounds. But like, I think 2 days after the primary, or 1 day after the primary, they had a celebration party where there were photographers from the press there. Like there was a professional AP photographer, and I'm sure you've probably seen the picture of him and Hasan like yakking it up and smiling and yeah. So you know, he allowed himself to be photographed by professional media with Hasan on the night of the primary win. And would you agree that his decision to
stupid decision? Yes.
Would you agree? Would you agree that he's putting other Democrats in a difficult position?
I'm not as convinced of that, but that's because I just don't think that this kind of controversy is likely to extend to other races. I haven't seen evidence of that, and to the extent that it's happening, it feels like many Democrats are coming out and saying, "Hey, it's a distraction," or even "I condemn what this guy stands for." So I'm not super convinced it's going to have any effect at all. In fact, I've been seeing some pretty optimistic looking polls, including of people in the most competitive districts, for example, or states like Talarico. I sent you some polls that show Talarico, even notwithstanding a lead for someone like Abbott, having like these really impressive showings in districts where Trump won by like 18, 20 points. But all of that is, I think, fair for us to go through. I'm curious why it's generating, again, this is my feeling, this kind of simmering resignation to defeat, or I might be so bold, a hope, a desire of defeat for El Sayed as just desserts. This is what you get for taking that picture with Hasan Piker, and that would actually be good. It would actually be good motivation. It would be good incentives, so that next time someone tries to do this, they know they're going to get destroyed in the election, and they'll never do it again. Are you feeling that? Because I'm feeling that.
I can only speak for myself and say that, of course, there's a petty side of this. I'll just fully own that, and I think it goes deeper than just like simply being photographed with Hasan Piker. It's about what that represents. Like, what message does that send? And from my perspective, I feel like I've been this like, I feel like I have been in this fight against like Trump and MAGA for the last, 10 years, haven't missed a single primary or election, voted straight ticket Democrat every time. And when I see a United States Senate candidate campaigning with someone who, has used his platform for years to say that the Democratic Party is literally like the second most evil institution in the world. That's what he told me, and he believes that. And, he accuses this party of being
terrorism.
His foreign policy stuff, I don't really. No, but I'm saying he openly calls the Democratic Party fascist. He compared Kamala Harris to Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
And so that feels like someone to me that has been like working against what I've been working towards. And so there's a petty side of this of like, it does feel kind of cathartic to watch him just get fucking buried by his own clips after he thought it was going to be.
Watch El Sayed be buried or Hasan be buried?
Hasan. And so, like the petty stuff I reserve for Hasan, but not for El Sayed. I just want El Sayed to make better decisions.
Great. I agree. I want El Sayed to make better decisions. And I think the best way we can try to motivate him is, and really to put him in a position to affect that change, is to reward him for distancing himself from what Hasan said. And if for anything else, even if you think the statement was insufficient, at least acknowledging here live on your stream, Hutch, that you unequivocally endorse El Sayed and urge every one of your audience members, to the extent that they're able to vote for El Sayed
I definitely
in the general election.
I definitely hold the view that if you live in Michigan, it is really important that you vote for Abdul El Sayed. And furthermore,
that's great.
If you have time and the inclination to volunteer to help him with canvassing efforts in the state, and furthermore, if you have disposable income that you can send to his Senate campaign, then you should do that as well. Like, yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, okay, that assures me a lot, because before, when you said the whole like 30% of me wants him to lose, I was like, I sat with that for a while, Hutch. I'm not gonna lie, it affected me.
There's like, still 30% of me that thinks
Hutch. That. Yeah, talk me through that though.
Well, if you look at the map right now, like with the newest developments out of South Carolina, I don't know if you've been looking at the numbers there.
Oh, I think it's it's a bit ambitious, but I'm here for it. What is her name? Annie something? Annie something?
I don't even know her name because I don't know jack shit about South Carolina. But I've seen the numbers. I've seen the head-to-head polling, and all of a sudden, a state like South Carolina is competitive, Iowa's competitive, Texas is competitive. So, you know, if you're someone that holds my view that the movement that
Annie Andrews.
If you're someone that holds my view that the movement that Hasan represents has been an albatross around the neck of the Democratic Party, then it kind of makes sense to see the value in like normie Democrats just crushing it and flipping seats that you wouldn't even think was possible a year ago, while the progressive candidate loses in a swing state.
That's valuable, or you think that's? I just don't understand it. I don't think you think it's good. I think you think it's like you understand the sentiment behind it, the same way you understand the pettiness, the same way you understand the statements being bad, the same way that you understand that like that worldview is flawed, maybe even terminally flawed, but not in a way that you understand it rationally motivating the action, by which you mean you agree with it, to sit out the election or to not endorse. That's the part that I don't understand.
Well, I'm not rooting for that outcome, but if that outcome happened, I could give you the silver lining of that outcome. I could say, well, not ideal, but here's why I think it's not all bad.
But you could do that with just about any bad thing, right? Well, you know, going through cancer makes me more thoughtful about how I live my life, or, you know, having Trump win made us realize something about the Democratic Party. There could be a silver lining to a great many bad thing that occurs, right?
Well, I think some things are just really bad. Like if I fell in a vat of molten lava tomorrow, like I would have a hard time finding the silver lining there. But
yeah,
you know,
fair.
But I'm telling you,
I agree. There's not always a silver lining.
I'm telling you that in the case of if the Democrats if normie Democrats just feast on Republicans during the midterms and put a strong performance out there, and El Sayed loses, I'm telling you that there's real value there that I think would potentially like help the Democratic Party in the long run, like playing the long game.
More so than El Sayed winning the election? No, right?
Because no, I don't know. Otherwise, I would be rooting for that outcome. But
yeah,
the value there would be like, it's been so easy for people like Hasan and people with his politics and people from that movement to talk all of this shit and hype themselves up the way that they've been doing for several years. And because like they got to do that for so long because they never really had that challenge. So they would make these bold claims that their politics, you could just replicate that all over the country. And the problem with the Democratic Party is that it's just not actually like doing enough to support their kind of candidates. And if they did, that they would win all over. And there is value on not only like, you know, El Sayed losing that race and then, you know, hurting that claim pretty significantly, but also, you know, I think.
Hey guys, can you be good faith to Hutch, please? I don't need you guys saying he's lying about wanting the Republican to win. Let's just take him at his word. I believe him. He's been vote blue no matter who longer than you guys have been alive. All right, so
I release
cool it with that.
If you want to let your and I'm not even like saying this to be.
No, I don't want that. This is
sorry. I didn't even mean to say it like that. But like, I'm just telling you, like, your chat can say whatever, and it's not gonna bother me because I have like I have thought these things out quite a bit. I know I have very good reasons for the things that I'm saying. And so like I think that the value of this happening also would be that future US Senate candidates that are running in really important races are going to think twice before campaigning with Hasan Piker. So there's future value there, right? Like surely you would agree with that, right?
I think that there's future value potentially for the Hasan part of it. Yeah. In the primary context, let's say. Where I don't see necessarily is on any score where that is improved by him losing, because I think if he wins, now you have the model of disavowing Hasan, right? And you winning, and that's also there. And like someone is able to win and unify with the disavowal of the given statements or whatever, and we're all good, right? So like, in what sense is this kind of like maybe him losing is maximalist anti-Hasan? Maybe I would grant that, but I think you still get some of that effect by how El Sayed would win, and he won by being unafraid to take a stance against what Hasan said about whatever the stuff about Jews bringing it on themselves.
I think what I'm getting at is that if this goes really poorly for El Sayed, and you can attribute a lot of his failure to his decision to align himself with Hasan during the primary, then I think that future Democrats that are serious about winning elections in competitive races are going to think twice before using Hasan to elevate their name recognition. And if he wins, then I think other Democrats will make this what I think is a mistake, which is to use Hasan to, because it's a devil's bargain. Okay, it's like, okay, yeah, you know, it may boost you in the primary a little bit, but we know with 1000% certainty that Fox News and the right wing are going to do this every time. Any time a candidate campaigns with Hasan in the primary, they're going to fucking bury that candidate in campaign ads tying them to Hasan. And that is a losing electoral strategy. And I don't want the Democratic Party to do that in the future.
And so if they win, you're confident that that attack will have been at least shown in the minds of most fair-minded people to be toothless, the anti-Hasan attack that is, and that you fear then, therefore, Hasan rises in prominence as a result.
I think I fear that it will be perceived as toothless, but I don't think it takes a genius to understand that these attacks are working, and it is helping Mike Rogers. Otherwise, I don't know how to explain why Abdul El Sayed's campaign put out a message, you know, sort of in a way that I think is more subtle than I would have wanted it to be, but like distancing themselves from Hasan, and then yesterday telling another reporter that he has no plans to campaign with Hasan. I think the reason why they're doing that, whether he's making those comments, is obvious, and it's because, you know, that campaign obviously thinks that those attacks are hurting him. And, you know, do you disagree that they're going to do this? No. They're going to do this every time. Every time.
But there is a tension between El Sayed's victory. Let's say it's a convincing 5-point victory. This notion that Hasan is cyanide for your campaign, especially if his result, let's say, it's in line with how other Democrats are performing relative to, you know, the inherent partisanship of the states. If he's in line with that, then some of the luster of the argument regarding he's hurting, right, starts to go away, right? In which case, wouldn't your critique also start to go away about him damning Democrats in terms of the odds? Don't you have something on the line here too?
I don't know if I personally have something on the line here, but I mean, I have my sense of where the electorate is at, and you know, I do hold the view that Hasan's politics are like just as toxic and corrosive as you can be. Like, do you understand that? Which is a very condescending way to ask a question, but do you understand that like do you understand the Republican Party right now, if you're Mike Rogers' campaign, it's win-win. They're putting pressure on Abdul El-Sayed and other Democrats to acknowledge Hasan Piker and his influence and significance in the current moment within Democratic Party politics. And there's two different outcomes. There's one outcome.
But you have an interest in that as well, right? You're trying to do that as well, because you're trying to put it all on the line to have there be a response, right? So you're also increasing the prominence, and you want that. Let's be honest. You want the Fox News attacks to occur, right?
Absolutely not. No, I want to live.
I was saying that you liked it.
No.
You wanted the Fox News attacks.
I mean, like all things being equal, like in a vacuum, I don't want my candidates who are running in swing states to have to, deal with this kind of coverage on Fox News. So I'm not rooting for that to happen. It's obviously going to happen. It's just, so it's just an unavoidable. But don't you think
that's good? Wait, but don't you think that it's good that if a candidate associates themselves with Hasan, that all the powers that be, including Fox News and establishment, quote unquote, or leadership Democrat, quote unquote, however you want to define that term, I'm not putting any connotation on that term, that they attack Hasan? Isn't that pressure good? Isn't that fulfilling the thing that you want to see? You started this call by being like, I'm actually quite like feeling good that this is all occurring. Isn't this part of the immune system pushing out Hasan? In which case, don't you have something to lose, right? Because if it doesn't work, or if El-Sayed is in line or exceeds nationwide expectations, which I don't think is likely right now, but let's say that it is, wouldn't that undermine your case?
Sure. Sure. Yes. Obviously, like if El-Sayed wins by 10 points or something like that, then Hasan would then.
I think you'd be upset. If he overperforms, you'd be upset. I think.
I don't know if I would be upset. Like I'll take a 10-point victory in Michigan. Like, listen,
I know,
like
you want. Ideally, let me right.
Hold on, real quick. Let me make the point that I was making. I'll be so brief. The Republicans are the reason why they're in a win-win situation is because no matter what the outcome is, like they're forcing the issue. They are forcing these fault lines to come to the surface. Like they're forcing the Democratic Party to draw lines. Like the Democratic Party leadership to define the party, and they can define the party by disavowing Hasan or welcoming him into the tent. And in either of those outcomes, the Republican Party is going to benefit from that. Because like if the as Democratic Party leadership is doing right now in disavowing Hasan, Republicans know that that's going to cause a shitstorm within the party, and it's going to cause all kinds of division and fighting, and it's going to be like 2016 all over again. And if Democrats like roll out the welcome mat or defend Hasan, then they're going to turn around and look at normies and be like, see, we told you, they're fucking crazy. And so yeah,
that's a dynamic that you would support. You wouldn't want it to be any other way. And I think the proof of that is the following. What would make you happier? An El-Sayed overperformance by 10 points. Let's say he wins by 10 points and over the margin by which he was expected and in line with other Democratic overperformances. Would you prefer that, or an El-Sayed win where he wins by 0.5?
0.5.
What's preferable?
0.5.
There you go. Right. Like,
yeah.
and the reason is you're trying to balance, and that's what's causing you to have this tension. The two wolves in you, right? There's two wolves. There's the vote blue no matter who wolf, and there's the wolf about internal Democratic, cleansing, and they're both gay, and they're fighting each other.
But I don't know if I experience it as this like uncomfortable tension, like I just have my perspective that, and I don't even think anybody could give me a plausible steelman argument or counter argument. But I think it is just, we know with 100% certainty at this point that Hasan Piker is fucking toxic sludge. And so I am rooting for whatever outcome makes.
You want that to be the case.
Right?
You just showed it.
Wait,
right?
hold on. Wait. What I'm saying is I'm rooting for any outcome that gets more people to understand this. That's what I'm rooting for.
You actually want him to be toxic to El Sayed, just not in such a way that he loses the election.
No, I don't. I don't want Hasan Piker to be a toxic influence in Democratic Party politics. I want him to fuck off. I want him to get away from Democratic Party politics.
No, but given two scenarios, one in which he drags down El Sayed, but not enough to lose the election, and one in which he really has no effect and El Sayed is free and clear, you would pick the one in which he has a negative effect on El Sayed. You would, in other words, it's not just that you think that it will occur. You want there to be reputational damage associated with Hasan, such that it drags down Democrats with whom he associates, just not in such a way that it jeopardizes the whole election.
I mean, ideally, I would want it to be like limited. Like, I don't want him to like drag down a bunch of other Democratic Party races. But if we can use Michigan to demonstrate the point that this guy is a snake oil salesman that is horrible for the party, then yeah, there's going to be value in learning that lesson and just demonstrating it. And yeah, I mean, are you saying that you think it's bad that I have this perspective? Do you think my priorities are off base?
Well, I think that your priorities, if you're asking my opinion, and I think are off base if it's causing you to have this 30% residual. Maybe I would say there's like a 1% silver lining, or however you want to define that. I think 30% to me is too much. So if that's the question, I think it is off base. But more than that, I think this is really clarifying, because it's not just how it's been presented before by the Wick class, the illustrious Wick class. Why, by the way, the Wick class and I have a great deal of overlap. We are substantially very much aligned on many different things, but they have given an account, that is the Wick class, it's descriptive. Hasan is going to cause toxic damage to Democrats, and therefore
he already is
need to inoculate, right? But it's more than that. It's not just descriptive, it's normative. We want there to be damage, brand harm associated with Hasan, and it's for the ideological reasons, right? And that's clear. I'm not saying that there's like anything inherently wrong, but like that is clarified and illuminated. It's a desire that is, and that's why I'm getting the vibe, I think, and I can't prove it, I can't point to it, that a lot of people, I can't prove it, want El Sayed to lose, and not just Republicans.
My chat says you're clip farming me. How do you respond to these allegations?
How am I clip farming? How is that clip farming?
How do you respond? How do you clip farming? It's almost like you want me to
totally reject it.
It's almost like you want me to say that I want Abdul to lose, which
no, you made it very clear you don't want him to lose. You made it very clear you don't want him to lose. And just pull your chat, ask your chat. I'm sure that they all said chat, Hutch's chat. 1 in the chat if you want El Sayed to win, 2 if you want him to lose, 3 if you're indifferent or don't care. All right, those are the
I like that. Yeah, and I like that.
And I bet you'll just see a bunch of 1s. That's what I expect you'll see. So I'm not trying to clip farm you on that. I expected you to say, I unequivocally support El Sayed, and you did say that. And you said not only that, you should like donate if you have the resources and inclination.
You mentioned ideology, and
yeah,
I am not motivated by my my disagreement with Hasan's ideology. It has nothing to do with this. I don't care about his ideology. It is purely my calculations, my analysis, the way I think about this is purely based on what I view to be his impact on Democratic Party politics and elections. And right, do you even disagree with me that Hasan Piker is toxic sludge for a race like Michigan, where it's a competitive race in a swing state?
I'll tell you my inclination. My inclination is that he's negative for the general. That's my inclination. That's my vibe. So we haven't had a great deal of evidence for that, though, right? My inclination has always been
what?
All else equal.
Hang on. Right now, this current moment, that's the evidence. That's the evidence.
No. I'm talking. What I'm measuring is the effect on results, right? That's what I'm measuring.
Well, we don't need to wait for the election, though. We don't need to wait for the election to know that something is having a negative effect on Abdul El Sayed's campaign. Like we don't need to perfectly quantify that to know for sure.
Hang on a second, because so no. Well, what are we measuring? Right, the effect on. What are we measuring? Right? That's important to establish.
If we want to get really specific with it, we would want to measure the impact on undecided voters.
Right.
In Michigan.
We don't know that, right?
No, but it's kind of like, you know, there's a fair
That's
amount
my inclination as well. All I'm saying is I don't know, but my inclination is it probably hurts more than it helps in the general election. That's my inclination. So I think we're aligned in terms of belief, but there's something holding you back. Why do you think that we're not aligned there? Do you think we have evidence?
I think we have the obvious evidence. Like I don't think we could, you know, sure. Like it would be nice to commission a poll, like a really reputable poll with like a fat fucking sample size of 10,000 people, perfectly weighted demographics, and then ask people like, does, you know, Abdul El Sayed's affiliation with, you know, streamer Hasan Piker like impact your view of him? I would feel so confident that a non-trivial amount of independent, like of undecided voters do have serious concerns about that.
Like my inclination is that it would have a significant negative effect on independent voters that you've described, right? I don't know that though, right? And so that's my inclination, but it could have that effect.
Well,
it could not have that effect. It could have the opposite effect, right? And I don't fucking know,
well,
right? But I'm telling you that I agree on inclination.
Well, I have a high degree of confidence, and I think you should too, because really for a lot of reasons, but for two primary reasons. Like, you know as well as I that a U.S. Senate campaign, especially ones that are as well funded as the Michigan race, I mean, there's going to be a lot of money pouring into that race because Republicans see an opportunity to flip a blue seat. That's a huge deal. And
oh yeah.
Abdul El Sayed, he's been one of the largest small donor, I think, recipients in the country, and so like he's attracting a lot of money. And you know as well as I that these campaigns are very sophisticated. Okay, they hire people whose entire job is to like poll the electorate, survey the electorate, and like see what potentially moves these voters. And what we know for sure right now is that obviously
the campaigns reacted. Yeah, the campaigns reacted. But I don't know that they have the data.
No, but well, you think they're just going off a hunch here? Like Mike Rogers, when Abdul won that primary, less than an hour later, they're spamming social media channels with political ads, targeting Hasan Piker, and then so there's that, and like I very much doubt that they're doing that on a hunch. Like I would bet very good money that they're actually out there talking to voters and testing these kinds of things and seeing which way it moves them. And then also you have, and then I'll shut up, El Sayed, his camp, that now they're distancing themselves from Hasan. So clearly both very well-funded campaigns think that Hasan is hurting El Sayed.
No doubt about that. That's informing some of my intuition behind why I think it's likely harmful, all else equal. I just don't know that, right? And I don't have access to, now those things are like maybe decent heuristics, but campaigns get things wrong all the time in terms of their attack. Oh, it turns out that wasn't very effective. We spent all this money on this ad. Doesn't look like that moved much people, right? So I'm just like, I agree with you. That's my intuition too. If you were to put me in the Mike Rogers campaign, I'd be like, this guy said America deserved 9/11, and he walked with, let's do it. But like, think about Obama and like his reverend or whatever. Like, I'm just not sure, right? I think it's okay for me to not be sure and share your inclination. I don't know why anything turns on this. In other words,
what is the value of us debating whether or not we can know for sure if this is hurting?
I'm just being
him?
honest, right? Like, so you asked me, do you think it's hurting in general? I said my inclination is yes, but like I don't have like a strong credence that way because like I haven't seen strong evidence for that.
Right. Well,
I just have like a strong vibe about it.
Well, I mean, listen, even if you want to add the caveat that you can't be certain, if you generally accept the premise,
I don't even have that's my belief. I'm just telling you, it's not based on any like data, just like based on my interactions with people, my general, notions that people don't like people who support terrorism or 9/11 shit or Maoists or communists, like that's all informing my vibe, but it's just like not a very strong credence. I suspect it, but I would never go to a debate and be like, I have a strong degree of confidence or an 80% degree of confidence or a 90% confidence. Like I just don't have that confidence, and I'm just reflecting an honest answer back at you. And I think anyone who says that they do have strong evidence, I think they have to give an account for that. But I share the vibe. I think we can work off the vibe and the intuition.
Well, listen, if you generally accept the premise that Hasan is proven to be toxic, Abdul
no, not proven in the general. I don't share that vibe. I have the vibe that he is likely negative, not that it's been proven. Right?
Okay. If you generally accept the premise that it's likely that Hasan Piker is toxic for Abdul El-Sayed's campaign,
correct. Yes.
And you generally accept the premise that the Republicans will do this every time there's a race with national significance and the candidate campaigns with Hasan in the primary. They're going to do this.
Agreed.
Okay. So if you accept both of those premises, then I think even you would have to concede.
Even you. What would I concede?
That there could be value in a loss like that to prevent future losses. It is shown, the toxicity is just shown in a way that's like really hard to ignore, and then future Democrats.
Would that be a silver lining?
Don't campaign.
Is that what you're asking?
Well, whatever you want to call it. Like I'm saying value. You say silver lining. You have to concede that there would be value there. It would dissuade future Democratic candidates from making the same mistake.
Yeah. So based on my vibe, yes, I think that there would be some value there. But again, that's all sort of couched against the over, and you and I agree on this part. That's what's, and maybe we have a different sort of amount of value we'd put on it. For me, it's kind of like, until I see the evidence of the magnitude of it, I'm going to be like, I don't really give a fuck if it's like a point, whatever minuscule bump, right? It would need to be some amount of significance. But yeah, in general, I could understand some value. Again, we can have disagreements on the amount there, but the same thing is reflected back at you, right, Hutch? Because if El-Sayed overperforms, that's pretty, at least decent evidence, maybe, that maybe this isn't the kind of negative effect that you've been talking about, right?
If I see compelling evidence that
a victory, a convincing overperformance by El-Sayed, if that occurs, and again, I don't think it's likely, I want to stress, I don't think it's likely to occur. And there's a point I'm getting at here. But if it does occur, I think that is some evidence, again, not everything, but it's some evidence that undermines your point and the Wick class's point that they've been raising now for months.
It wouldn't be the first time that I was wrong about something. And so, like, if I see compelling evidence that Hasan is not as toxic as I claim he is, then, it might damage my ego for a minute, but I'm not so ego driven that I wouldn't be able to adjust my assumptions or admit that I was wrong about something.
Is that a good thing then? So, but like you, that's what I'm meaning. Like, it's not just you desire it to have a negative effect on the general election, just not enough that it overcomes the victory. I grant that. So, I think that's at the heart of this, right?
Well, hang on real quick.
The reason you feel that tension is because you want to be right about that, right? You want to be right because you want it to have a negative effect, because you want
hang on
effect to be there.
Hang on. Well, I mean, listen, everybody's got a little bit of ego, and so I'm not going to tell you I'm a fucking Buddhist monk who's No, I don't.
Like, sorry, you misunderstand. I don't mean like that. I mean, like, you want the Democrats to push this guy out, and part of your case for that.
You mean Hasan, right? Not El-Sayed, right?
Yes, Hasan Piker. Yes, I'm sorry, Hasan Piker.
Yeah.
You want us to push him out, and whatever that means, again, in the tent coalition stuff. But that case is undermined if he actually doesn't have a deleterious effect,
of course,
or noticeable effect, right?
Of course, so, but I think the disconnect here, Pisco, is that I think we already have so much evidence that Hasan Piker is toxic for the Democratic Party. Like, maybe not in D plus 30 districts in New York or whatever, or maybe the harm there is like much more contained such that I wouldn't, necessarily like panic about it or anything like that, or be like overly concerned about it. But I'm not worried about this election or these outcomes undermining some position I have, because I think the jury is not out about Hasan Piker's toxicity. Like I think we just plainly know that already at this point. And so I'm just not thinking about it. When you say like you want this outcome to happen, all of this to me, Pisco, all of this has been so predictable. It's been so fucking predictable that the right-wing media apparatus would weaponize someone like Hasan Piker to try to hurt a Senate candidate. Like they were obviously going to do this. And so, they're doing this because they know he's toxic. And so, that's where I'm at with things. I'm not in my head like rooting for to be like proven correct. I'm
not the proven correct thing, but you are hoping that it does have a toxic effect.
I don't think I agree with that statement at all. Like I don't think any of this is like ideal for the party. So I take issue with
someone does associate with Hasan, you want there to be a negative consequence. That's part of the silver lining.
It's not that I want no, but here's the disconnect again. It's not that I want there to be negative consequences for Democrats like running in these kinds of races. There just are negative consequences for this, as we're plainly seeing right now.
You also desire them to be, right? It's two
no,
things, right?
No. I don't like that framing at all. I don't want any, because I don't desire for any of this. I don't desire.
Then why would it be a silver lining if you don't desire it? Why would you want a close shave victory, or why would it be a silver lining if you lost? If you don't desire there to be a negative effect?
Just because something has a silver lining doesn't mean that you desire it to happen. Like if I got cancer tomorrow and then went through like a horrible experience and I thought I was going to die, and I came out the other side and I had this new profound, perspective on and gratitude for life, that doesn't mean that going through the awful experience with cancer is something I'm rooting for. I'm finding the silver lining.
No, I agree. But like all else equal, let's say that cancer helps you find yourself. If someone asked you, okay, would you do cancer to find yourself? You'd be like, no, obviously not. But if someone says, okay, all else equal, would you want to find yourself? It'd be like, yeah, right?
Sure,
and so if someone said to
yes.
you, yeah. So if someone gives you like a false cancer diagnosis or whatever, it turns out you didn't actually have cancer and you found yourself in that time. Yeah. You're like, oh, wow, that's like awesome, right? So here, if you could have your cake and eat it too, El Sayed wins, but you find the equivalent of find yourself here is a negative effect with association with Hasan. You would desire that. It's not just that it would happen. You want that.
I don't know.
Why do you? This is your whole position.
It's not. I don't desire any of this. I wish he would fuck off and stop inserting himself in Democratic Party politics.
But part of getting him to fuck off is getting people to realize that he is a negative effect, right? And that's only going to happen if it's shown.
It's already happened. Like we don't need to like wait any longer to know that this guy is nothing but a detriment in these kinds of races. We know this. It's not up for debate anymore.
So if we already know this, why is there a silver lining with him narrowly winning? If everyone already knows it, right? It doesn't make sense, Hutch. Right?
I'm saying you and me. I'm saying you and me know this, but hang on. That's never been. You and I. There is no inconsistency here. Like if you know that like one of the problems that I think is really prevalent right now is that not enough people know what Hasan is actually about. He has done, and it's kind of infuriating because he hasn't even done the best job of hiding his power level. Like he's not subtle when he's talking to his stream, and the Republicans have figured this out because now there's like probably dozens of Republicans that are watching his streams every day, just waiting for him to say the next stupidest thing. And they haven't even
found the most of the good stuff, right?
They haven't got to the N-word. They haven't got to the N-word compilation yet. They haven't even. I'm surprised they haven't run ads of him interviewing like a Houthi pirate. Like there's so much
disputed, right?
Wow.
People tell me that that's disputed, but I guess that's just Hasan coaching, right?
So wow, when somebody says I'm a Houthi pirate, I usually take them at their word.
I know. Okay.
Can you give me literally?
Go ahead.
Can you give me literally 5 seconds? 5 seconds.
Yeah. Folks, I hope you guys see it, right? Like, I hope you guys see it. I'll wait for Hutch to actually have anything substantive to say, but I'm just trying to get us to understand the entailments of what everyone is suggesting and why I feel that there's this inherent vibe about El Sayed losing being good. And again, I don't see that from everybody. I don't see it from Hutch, but I think that this is explaining a lot of it. Sorry, Hutch. What I was saying is the reason I'm bringing this up is as explanatory sort of account for why I get this vibe from a lot of people is because I think that they desire this to have a harmful effect. And for the life of me, I don't understand why you don't own that, right? Even if it's just as relates to other people who don't know yet all the bad stuff he said, I feel like you should just own it. Yes, of course I would want it to have a negative effect on any Democrat who associates with Hasan. And so that's what I don't understand. Shouldn't you own that?
But in my mind, this is like saying, if I pick up my vape and then let go of it, I want it to drop to the ground, like it's gonna drop to the ground. And so I don't think of it in the way that you're describing. I think, like, as someone who is invested in the long-term success and health of the Democratic Party, anyone in my position would want the realities of someone like Hasan Piker involving himself in Democratic Party politics being exposed, like more people to finally understand,
and having their natural and probable outcomes, right?
Right.
You don't want Hasan to be like Forrest Gump, and he just is able to be victorious, and like you don't want him to be happy after this, right? You don't want him to be triumphal. Does that make sense? You don't want him to get away with it.
I think we are so past that at this point. Like I just don't understand.
Why can't you just? It's like very clear that's a good goal, right?
No, but what goal? Like it's already happened. We have John Ossoff. We have a guy who has he's gotten so much national attention in the last few weeks that he's now, for whatever value you put in betting markets, he's now jumped up to like lead the betting markets in terms of like who's going to be the nominee in 2028. Yeah. And so that is all that to say. That's someone who has a lot of national prominence,
cachet.
Like people are listening to him when he speaks, and he put out a statement this morning condemning Hasan Piker by name. So like the damage is done, and Hasan knows this. That's why he's having such a horrible reaction to it.
If the damage is done, then the 30% of you should go away. If the damage is done, then there's no silver lining. It's over. It's priced in. It already happened. Then take that 30% and expel it. Expel the demon, Hutch. I'm telling you right now. Expel it. The 30% is gone. I declare it vanquished. If it's already happened, if it's already priced in, if he's already feeling it, then I command you, the 30% leave your body right now.
Why is that important to me if you accept the general premises that I'm using to explain like that 30%? Like you agree with that. So I just don't even know. It's like you're acting offended that I
I'm
have
not
this.
offended.
Well, you're saying it's a bad thing, but you agree that Hasan,
I think it's irrational.
You agree that Hasan is toxic, and you agree that the Republicans are going to do this literally every time. So you must agree that there would be value in future Democratic Party candidates not making the same mistake. And if Al Sayed is the one to demonstrate the folly of this kind of strategy,
it's not already priced in. There's some additional benefit of Al Sayed losing that you want. Maybe not to the full loss, but at least that negative effect. There is some benefit to that occurring.
If it prevents more future Democratic candidates from making the same mistake, then yeah, there's value there. But again, when I say that's like 30% of me, I mean that shit, because I do think the most ideal outcome is to defend that seat in Michigan, so we don't have to
narrowly
win another
not
seat.
In an overwhelming fact. You would be disappointed to see him win by 12.
Honestly, bro, it would be like, well, I'm a little worried about future races, but I would feel good if it was 10 points. I wouldn't be like, oh, this sucks, like I would feel like good about that, because that would show me that despite Hasan Piker's toxicity, like things are so bad for the Republican Party, he could win by 10 points.
So it wouldn't undermine your toxicity point at all if he won. But let's go crazy. He wins by 15 points. We'll go crazy. 15 points. That wouldn't undermine your case at all.
I think 15 you're getting, maybe 15 you're getting closer. But I'm just saying, like, things are it just is the case that things are so bad for Republicans right now that, someone like El Sayed could very easily overcome the, what would be liability, like massive liabilities, or much more of a massive liability in a more normal kind of election cycle when you don't have a president who's negative 31,
Yeah, then I think we're aligned. I think you would be fine with a El Sayed triumphal victory. And that's your overriding concern.
I'd be happy.
And so,
sure.
And even though the narrative would be Hasan doesn't sink your campaign, right? Because that would be the narrative.
I don't know how you could get to that narrative at
you
this
don't,
point.
You don't see the connection there?
Pisco, listen to me. We're 3 months removed from the midterms, and things are so bad for Hasan that this candidate that he's been taking credit for, literally, just he has been taking credit for that guy. He pretends like he's not. I'm no kingmaker, but there's multiple clips of him basically taking credit for that. And now that candidate is saying, I don't plan on doing any campaign with Hasan. And, he condemned him indirectly.
So we already won.
No.
So we already won.
So if Abdul El Sayed goes on to win this race, it will be after he distanced himself with Hasan. And so there's no way that any honest person.
There's no way that Hasan wins.
Exactly. He's fucked in this spot, and he knows it too.
So then we're good. So then no one should be. Then at this point, no one should be.
That's why I'm happy. I'm euphoric over the last 5 days.
Beautiful.
Because
we're aligned.
This is just unequivocally bad for Hasan, and he knows that. It just fucks with his whole brand. Is he's going to be this new political leader to revolutionize, American politics and Democratic Party politics, and that just got blown up. It's all just completely blown up. And he knows that. That's why he's freaking out. That's why he's putting out these calls for other people to defend him harder. That's why he's in the replies to these posts, now he's talking shit about John Ossoff, which is a guy that last week he was saying, you know what, I like Ossoff. I like him.
He's a dark horse.
Yeah, he's a dark
horse candidate.
A week later, he's like this Jewish senator from Georgia. It's all of this is
this Jewish senator from Georgia
in the replies. Crazy. Yeah, but there's more context to that sentence. But this is obviously bad for Hasan, and everybody outside of his deranged cult of personality can see that this is not ideal for him. It just fucks with his entire brand. All of that is just blown up.
Okay, then I think that we're aligned that this whole DSA hand-wringing thing, I mean, it seems like the party's in a good spot. It seems like we're good. It seems like we're all good, right?
We're getting there. I mean, it's good. I'm glad to see leadership take a more forceful tone about this and take a more forceful position about this. The Republicans did force the issue. They forced Democrats to do this. And so I'm glad that we're ripping the Band-Aid off now, especially with Ossoff. I'm really glad that Ossoff did that, because we can skip the fucking, next year and a half of them pretending that they would be okay with Ossoff, only to turn around and call him a baby killer the second it looks like he might win the primary. We can just skip all that, and now we're at the spot that we were always going to be, which is they're going to be super adversarial with Ossoff. And I think that's good for us.
Good.
Yes, I think that's really good for us, because
so
that guy
makes sense for me.
Because that guy's a fucking generational talent. That guy, it could be the next fucking JFK. He is insanely charismatic, and his messaging, political messaging, is so disciplined, and it's so on point, and it's going to connect with a lot of voters. he's going to have a lot of broad appeal, like mass appeal. And if they want to pick a fight with him, like, let's go, bring it on. I would happily line up behind John Ossoff. You know,
feel free to ask me anything you want. Push all that stuff within reason. Do you want them to support Ossoff or oppose him?
It would obviously be ideal if we could get as much support as we could possibly get. That would be ideal. Yeah. But do I like, the question is moot.
So you don't want them to pick a fight.
The question is, no, the question is, I don't think about these things in this way. I'm not thinking about like, what do I want versus what do I don't want? I can't,
well, again, surely you should, right?
No, like, I don't think about life in that way. Like, you can ask my chat. I have been telling them for like 2 fucking months that all of this bullshit, flattery and praise that Kyle and Hasan have been, and all of them have been throwing at Ossoff, it was all bullshit. It would not, like, obviously that was never going to last. At some point they were going to fucking turn on this guy, you know? Like, I'm not thinking, I want them to, or do I not?
Think about that?
I don't want these people to have their politics. You know, I wish that they believed different things and weren't insane people. That's what I want. But I, you know, in terms of like, how are they going to interact with Ossoff? It's just predictable. They're
because the response is going to be, Hutch, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't. If we support the candidate, you don't want that, and if we oppose the candidate,
no, I just told you. I think like what I would want within some kind of realistic framework from the people that I'm talking about, what I would want from them is just just some semblance of pragmatism. Like, I am not asking for them to dole out endless praise for John Ossoff. I'm not asking for them to change their ideology and, you know, bend to his ideology. What I would want is for them to say, okay, you know what? Like, he doesn't have my politics and I don't like his policy positions on this, this, and this, but this is the best option that we have. And we should try to affect for the best outcome.
Okay, so that's what I want. You want them to have some sort of like qualified support for the candidate. That's what you would like to see.
That would be ideal. Yes. And then,
including Hasan of Ossoff.
Yes. To the extent that he can, you know, actually motivate people in his base to support the nominee in 2028. Of course that would be.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
But I don't want him but I do not want him campaigning or in the same room with any of those nominees because he's fucking toxic.
I understand that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I guess I have one more. If I won't ask it. I think that.
Well, don't stop there. Don't stop there. Come on now.
Well,
you can't tee it up and then not.
If it were to help, if you thought it would help, I know that you're convinced that it won't, and it's already been proven that it won't. And that's where I'm at too, in terms of my vibe. Again.
Okay. So we're just in thought experiment territory here?
Just in thought experiment.
Okay.
You'd bite that bullet and say, get him on stage.
If I thought that by sharing a stage with Hasan Piker, that would help a candidate win an election, and not like, and that like, even if it did potential damage to other candidates maybe in the future, but there was more like value in that, then yes, I would. Then yes, I would. 1,000%.
Bro, I think we're aligned on like most everything.
Like Liz Cheney is like a perfect example of this. I fucking loathe her politics, but I understood what they were going for by trotting out a Republican who says, I disagree with Kamala. I don't have her politics. We are very different ideologically, but I think Donald Trump is dangerous. And so
I thought it was based too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're just, Hutch, I think we're in complete alignment, actually. Come to think of it, I think that we're, like, I just think that we're aligned in practically every respect. Maybe on, like, the media stuff, you're like, you should be focusing, but I don't even hear you say that. Do you say, like, Josiah should be focusing more on Hasan? You don't say that. I don't hear you say that.
No, so my issue with Josiah is not that he focuses basically exclusively on Republicans in his content. I don't have any problem with that. Like, different creators have different niches, and you should lean into what's successful for you. And I would assume that Josiah is a creator first and like a political advocate second, which isn't meant to disparage him. Like, I think of myself in the same way. My issue with Josiah is when he goes on Twitter and
Wait, what's the thing that he said that you disagree with?
he said something yesterday that I was like, it made me sad. What did he say yesterday? It was about.
What did you see, Clarice? What did you see?
There were some DGG folks, I think, pressing him a bit on the like Crystal and Kyle and them, I think.
Crystal, Kyle, and friends.
Well, I mean, like that space, and hold on, let me find it.
So it's more like Twitter, Josiah. You have a
Twitter and live stream debate, Josiah. Sometimes he'll say things. He'll sometimes say things like,
Yeah, but like what?
Hold on, I'm trying to find it.
Okay.
Like someone was pointing out that if you're somebody that uses the language diet MAGA, I can't find, for some reason I can't find it.
Oh, I think I saw that tweet and he was like, I disagree with it. I think it's bad. That's what I thought Josiah said to that.
Give me one second.
I'm pretty sure that's his opinion.
Give me 1 second to find the specific thing he said.
Sure.
He said Hasan making that false equivalence when he says diet MAGA, I think. Plus trying to get Democrats elected via endorse. No, this isn't even the one that I'm thinking of. What's the one that where he's talking about diet MAGA? Is it this one, Zublars?
I've never heard him endorse that term.
No. He didn't endorse it. Okay, here it is. Mooten.
Mr. Moon.
Senor Mouton.
Mouton.
Said respectfully, doesn't Kyle do this? Okay, so hold on. Josiah said, in reference to Kyle, until he endorses a Republican or third-party candidate and or creates a false equivalence between the two parties and or encourages his audience to not vote for the Democrats. And I think he meant by that, like...
You're an ally.
Right. And then Moon...
Yeah, that's just how he defines ally. Just to
right.
be clear. Guys, that's just how he defines the term ally.
Right, but that's my problem with Josiah. So like specifically,
okay, it's the terminology shit. No, this is what's happening.
No,
like,
not
are loading in the connotation of the word ally, and trying to like sandbag him.
Okay, let's just fine. If you want to avoid defining ally.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying that's how Josiah defines ally.
No, I understand.
And so people are like, wait, okay.
But I think that's silly is my point, and frustrating.
Wait, why is that silly?
I'm trying to get to it. I'm trying to get to it. Okay, so Mooten says, respectfully, doesn't Kyle do this by calling the Dems MAGA light or diet MAGA? And then Josiah said, by definition, diet isn't an equivalence. And yeah, I'm like,
I think you agree with that.
I do not agree with that. If you're calling Senator Slotkin diet MAGA, you're calling them MAGA.
But no. That's by definition, I think by definition, what all he's pointing out is that there is a distinction, right? It's not an equivalent.
Not a meaningful distinction. When somebody says Slotkin is diet MAGA, what they're saying is they're basically no different from MAGA. That's what they mean when they say that. They're not giving some nuanced take about like, Slotkin voted with the Democrats 72% of the time, which puts her more in the conservative sort of. They're not doing that. When they say diet MAGA, what they're saying is, colloquially, this person is basically MAGA. And that is the obvious definition of a false equivalence.
So that's one interpretation. Let me give you another one. This person is far too aligned with MAGA. So, for example, I might call Cenk Uygur diet MAGA. I might call Jared Polis diet MAGA. And if I said that, you would understand in that context, am I really saying that Jared Polis is essentially no different than a MAGA person?
You're saying
saying that Cenk Uygur... I've called, for example, TYT MAGA news because of how they covered shit. And I think people understand in context, I'm not making an equivalence and saying TYT is literally MAGA news.
Well, listen, I think it depends on the context, the person, and what you mean by it. But generally speaking, when you say diet MAGA, you're saying that someone is more similar to MAGA than they are Democrats.
I think that's one interpretation. I think another interpretation is the one I gave, which is far too accommodating and far too aligned with MAGA. That I think is another, and I think that's not an implausible reading. I think you have to agree with that. That's not implausible as an understanding.
Yeah, but
is
why?
That implausible?
No, I don't think that's implausible. And
So
some wait, hold on. The reason why
it's among plausible interpretations.
It could be, but not for Kyle. That's the point. Not for
Kyle has made in
not for Kyle.
Now adding all the statements that Kyle has made about
there's
dragging
years
his balls and voting and all that stuff.
There's but there's years of history. There's but I do try to, like, part of the reason why I get frustrated is because I try to take Josiah's view, but when I think about just the 10 plus years of Kyle doing the same thing, I don't understand how he takes that view. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't, because that's just not how I think about things. When somebody demonstrates a specific behavior for as long as Kyle has, what he's saying when he's saying that Slotkin is Diet MAGA. You know exactly what he's saying. It's the fact that he's now throwing out this blue no matter who, frankly, pandering at this point. That doesn't change the fact that, we can come to a very specific conclusion, I think reasonable conclusion about what Kyle means when he says these terms. It's just so obvious what he means.
I think it's just a difference in terms of how sincere you think this change has been, or this new frame has been. I think someone like me and Josiah, we have a different take on whether Kyle has meaningfully changed his view.
Wouldn't the fact that he's calling Democrats Diet MAGA, wouldn't that
explained, right?
I guess at this point,
so there's one way you can take that word, right?
It becomes a debate about. It becomes a debate about how could you think that way? And so just I don't know where to go with the debate.
There's two ways to interpret it, right? So there's two ways to interpret the Diet MAGA comment. And by the way, I disagree with him using that. I don't think he should use the word because there could be a meaningful conflation. But there's one sense of the word in which you're essentially the same as MAGA. And there's another sense of the word, which is you're far too accommodating and aligned with MAGA as a critique, right? You're Diet MAGA. You might say that, for example, right? Again, Jared Polis, he freed Tina Peters, or again, to Cenk Uygur, to TYT. I have called them MAGA news. Now, it is totally untrue for me to say that they're equivalent to MAGA, but I think people understand when I say that in context. Again, all I'm saying is he's super accommodating to the MAGA narrative. That he's willing to be way too charitable to MAGA, that kind of stuff. And I don't think that Josiah is fundamentally just confused by pointing out the true fact that there is no equivalence, and that he believes Kyle when Kyle says that there's a humongous difference between the two parties, so as to inform the one version of the word or term versus the other. Does that track? You're my boy. I love you, dog.
Listen,
I love the shirts too.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look, in the infinite multiverse of universes where every possible outcome has happened, it's possible that we live in the one universe where Josiah is correct in his assessment of where Kyle is at. I just don't think we live in that universe, because all you got to do is just.
How do we prove you're wrong?
Well, I think there's an easy way to do this, which is just to go to Kyle Kalinski's Twitter page and search for the word Democrats and just kind of scroll and see what he's saying. June 25th, when the Diet MAGA Democrats, what the Diet MAGA Democrats don't understand is that the more they out themselves, the more they put a target on their back to get primaried and fucking lose. The base is no longer taking their horse shit. Proceed at your own risk. I think when
there's a collection of Democrats that he finds to be intolerable, that he wants to see ousted. How is that inconsistent with what he told Josiah?
That he finds to be not meaningfully different from Republicans. That's what he means when he's saying that. He's
notwithstanding that, right?
May 26th.
Even if that were true.
May 26th. May 26th. Yeah. They aren't moderate. These aren't moderates, as I've always told you. They're Diet MAGA. They're simply not real Democrats. What the fuck else am I supposed to? No, they say they're simply not Democrats. What do you think he means by that?
This is What he means to say is that they're far too accommodating to Trump. It's like something you would say to Fetterman, right? Is Fetterman a real Democrat on your? So what do you think he's saying? That they're literally not Democrats?
He's saying
is it a point about their alignment and who they're aligned with?
I've already told you what he's obviously saying, which is that these people are closer to MAGA than they are the Democratic Party. That's what he means.
Yeah. But even if that were true, by the way, it's all consistent with,
is true.
With what Josiah is observing.
It's not. Now, he said, no, hang on. It's not, because Josiah said that he would change his attitude with Kyle if Kyle was doing false equivalences.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But that's all Kyle does. That's like, he's not, he's still doing it, you know?
Even saying that a Democrat is closer to MAGA than an archetypical Democrat doesn't mean that you're making an equivalence between them.
Of course it does. What do you mean?
Okay, I failed to see that.
If I say that the Democrat, like Alyssa Slotkin, is closer to MAGA than they are like the median Democrat, of course I'm lumping her in with MAGA and creating a false equivalence.
Yeah, I'm not convinced that first of all, like I said, I'm not convinced that the term, as Josiah's interpreting it, is having that weight. I think it's more in terms of, because example, if you were to run down all the policy positions with Kyle, you'd be like, you agree Alyssa Slotkin is better votes on this, right? Yes. You agree that Alyssa Slotkin is this and MAGA isn't like this. How do you think he would respond to that, Hutch? If we went through the policy and be like, that's a massive difference, right? That's a massive difference, right? Do you think he would say, no, it's not a massive difference?
I think Kyle would flail about and hurl like any ridiculous like Facebook boomer meme, like conspiracy theory that ever landed on his feed about Alyssa Slotkin. He would probably hurl like insane accusations that she, you know, like murdered a kid in Uganda in the 80s or something like that. And, you know, that she probably secretly agrees with Republicans and is you know, her whole project is like working against progressives.
You have to square his statement, but in order to have your interpretation, you have to square the Manchin statement, and the way you square that is saying he's lying about Manchin, that he would vote for Manchin.
He might be lying to himself or outwardly lying to you guys, but he's lying one way or the other, because there's no universe where he's not even gonna,
he does.
Bro, he's not even gonna endorse like Ossoff or Newsom if they win. Like, you're insane if you think he's actually going to follow through on that. He's not going to. He knows where his bread is buttered.
You want to bet?
I would put money on that.
Bet.
I would put money on that.
$100.
Let's do it. Lock it in.
So this is if Newsom or do you want to add Kamala Harris? Who do you want to add?
I am so confident in what I'm saying, and I think Kyle is we just know how he operates. That I'm willing to say whoever the nominee is, he will not
endorse.
He will not endorse.
Wait, no, let's carve out AOC, right?
I am so confident that AOC is not going to be the nominee in 2028.
If
I'm showing my confidence. I'm giving you an advantage. I'm showing you my confidence. Although I wouldn't even necessarily feel all that confident that he would endorse AOC. I don't know. Like, I actually don't know.
If you're so confident, let's raise it. Are you okay raising it? Let's do $500.
You're offering a crack at a crack right now. So obviously, yes, I am on board with increasing the terms of the bet. What do you got for me?
$500 and a public apology, either one of us. I'll apologize to you, or you'll apologize to Josiah.
That's tempting.
No collusion, by the way. No collusion.
I'm doing the Doctor Strange calculations.
Yeah.
That is so tempting.
And to be clear about what I'm betting, while you think, I'm betting that whoever the Democrat nominee is, he'll endorse.
I think that's very tempting. I think those terms are a little too favorable to you. Because again, like,
okay.
I feel reasonably confident that AOC, like, if she were to run and win the nomination, I do think there's like an 80% chance that he would endorse her. But there's like a 20% chance that he would accuse her of being like a liberal Zionist who, you know, like tacitly endorses a genocide. So I just, you know, that would be a bit much.
So we can make it more even by the following. We can either exclude certain candidates, or we can make the term so it's $250 for me, $500 for you.
No. What we should do is just we should specify that if the candidate is someone that Kyle perceives to be like outside of his tribe, or whatever you want to call it, the establishment, or
let's list the candidates.
Yeah. If it's Asaf, see, here's the
I like
thing.
everything.
Here's the thing,
I
though. Like,
everything, because then it's like someone's gonna eat crow, right?
Well, now you got me walking back my confidence a little bit, because if it's Asaf, I think the thing that pushes it over the line that he might actually support Asaf is that I actually think Kyle is like very vapid and superficial, and so just the fact that Asaf has Riz would matter more to him than the fact that they disagree on like every policy, So like that's like a little different. So here, hold on.
You think they disagree on every policy?
Probably, yeah. I think probably, yeah. Like, except for maybe, I don't know. I assume Asaf supports like paid family leave, but Asaf doesn't support Medicare for all, Green New Deal. You've seen that clip.
Yeah.
Let's restrict it this way. Like, if the candidate is Kamala or Gavin Newsom, I will take that. I will take that bet. $500 public apology.
Done.
Lock it in. You guys all witnessed it. There you go.
Oh boy. So you're not confident. In other words, based on this bet, you're only confident really with respect to those major candidates. You're not confident Asaf. You're not confident anyone else. That
I'm not as confident. Not confident enough to take that bet.
Okay.
The money's not the public apology. That's a tall order. Okay. That's a
yeah.
That is. I would
Josiah. I would apologize to you, and I can't bind Josiah. But I just think Josiah is getting so much unnecessary flack when he is just using a term like ally to mean a specific thing, and that's like, you can try to be like, that's the wrong way to use that term, but it's not really interesting. That's kind of like,
well, why don't we
semantic debate?
Why don't we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah.
When I think of the word ally, I think of a relationship with a person or an entity that is mutually beneficial.
It's an allegiance, right? But an ally is someone who you're aligned to, who you have an allegiance to, and they have an allegiance to you.
But the core characteristic is that it is mutually beneficial, right?
I mean, that's something that's found in allyships, but not
right.
It's not required, right? Like, for example, think in the First World War, you had the Austrian alliance with the Germans. The Germans certainly thought that there was a certain like a negative, like they were weighing down. The Austrians were weighing down the Germans. But I take your point that could be one of many reasons that you become an ally to someone.
Well, I think it is intrinsic to the definition. I think it is that the right word? Intrinsic meaning belonging, naturally, sure. Essential. Yes. So like when we look up the definition of the word ally, I fucking hate that 99% of political debates end up debates about definitions of words, but the noun ally is a state formally cooperating with another for a military or other purpose. The verb,
that's not what we're talking about.
The verb,
so there has to be an alternative one.
Right. The verb to combine or unite a resource or commodity with another for mutual benefit. Or if we go to Merriam-Webster for a different definition, to unite or form a connection or relation between, usually used with or to. That's the verb. Intransitive verb to form or enter into an alliance. And then the definition of alliance, a bond or connection between family, states, parties, or individuals. An
connection.
An association to further the common interests of the members.
Right. Yeah.
Specifically,
these
a confederation.
Are all ways in which that I think really cleanly map on to how Josiah is using the term.
I think this is kind of
a general term.
Listen, I think it's obviously when we talk about a political alliance, that would have to be something that is mutually beneficial, because why else would you do that? What would be the purpose, or give me like a plausible scenario where I can ally with someone else and it's not mutually beneficial. Like,
well, it depends on how you're defining or cashing out like mutual benefit. Like, let's say that you ally with someone who's a really negative drain on the cause because you love them.
That's not what we're talking about with politics, though. I don't, politicians and people with perspectives don't align with people because they love them, and it's like they're just doing altruism.
He likes Hasan. He wants clout. These are other
but that would be mutually beneficial, though.
Right. So if you're cashing it out to mean like it's analytically entailed that there's some mutual benefit there, then I guess you'd have to ask Josiah what that benefit is. I think you're fighting
me on this because that if you concede that to be allies with someone in a political context, it has to be mutually beneficial. You know where I'm going with that, and it's going to throw a wrench in your logic a little bit.
No, if that's how you define the term, I just don't think that's how Josiah uses the term.
Then I can't possibly conceive of what Josiah like when are you saying that Josiah doesn't think that an alliance has to be mutually beneficial in politics?
Yeah, I don't think that he's using the term that way, and I don't think any of the definitions you provide have that entailed. It's one of the purposes, right? The purpose is for mutual benefit. That doesn't necessarily mean that it actually results in mutual benefit.
No.
So I think even on the definitions you provided, it's not entailed that there be a mutual benefit, just that's one of the definitions you provided. Again, just one.
Wait, now you're going a different
a potential purpose.
Now you're going a different way with it. Now you're saying you can form an alliance with someone, but it doesn't always work out mutually in a mutually beneficial way. That's not what I'm saying. When you form an alliance with someone, the purpose is that you're joining forces to some kind of mutual benefit.
If that's what you mean by the term, then yes,
I think that's what everybody means when they think of like a political alliance.
No, not Josiah. When Josiah says ally, he means something very specific, and he cashes it out. He said all he means by ally is with respect to the goal of destroying Trump or acknowledging Trump as a greater evil. That's all he means by that.
That's a mutual benefit.
That's not the correct definition.
No, but that's
just okay.
That's a mutual benefit, though. Like if you're joining someone because you have a common enemy, that's a mutual benefit. So, anyways,
yeah, I think this is kind of to ask him. I assume if you were to ask him, he probably thinks that like all else equal, Hasan, like to the extent that he's dedicating resources towards defeating MAGA, his intuition is that would be more helpful than hurtful. And my guess is he would say that. But again, I don't think that that's entailed in his definition of it. I think he's just using the term the way he says he uses the term.
This feels a little pedantic to me. I'm not gonna lie to you. Because
wait, what's pedantic?
Because the idea that someone could have a conception of a political alliance that doesn't involve mutual benefit is completely absurd. It doesn't make any sense.
That's absurd. You mean
it doesn't make sense.
Like you don't understand it? It's a word, right?
It's nonsensical. It doesn't. Why would you do that? What would be the purpose of an alliance that only goes one way? It doesn't make any sense.
No, he's defining the term. He's using the term in a way that he's explaining. He says when I say ally, I just mean someone who recognizes the Democrats are the lesser of two evils and better than Republicans in every way, and you don't make a false equivalence between them. He just is telling you what it means. You're like, why would you use that term that way? Well, like that's kind of tangential to the discussion. People are asking him what an ally is, and he's why not ask? Like the thing is, here's why, Hutch. I think all this is happening. People want to have the connotation of ally, and they're trying to sandbag him. So instead of asking the question, "Do you think Hasan is helpful or hurtful for the Democrats for a particular end?" They don't want to ask that question. They just want to run a bunch of examples on the notion of allyship, and then bring in the baggage, the connotation. If you were to say something like Nick Fuentes is an ally, then where he would be committed to saying, yes, Nick Fuentes is an ally if he fulfills the criteria for the given election, he would be committed to that. But that's just his notion of ally in that context. But if you were to ask him a broader sense of ally, meaning like you should be friendly with them or they actually have a positive impact, he might give you a different answer. But what I take issue with is the kind of like quibbling. He's using the wrong definition. That just seems like bullshit.
That's not the question I would want to ask sweet Josiah, who I know you're listening, Josiah. He hasn't texted us. He hasn't showed up in chat, but I know you're fucking listening to this. You can hop on the call. Like the question that I would want to ask Josiah, and it's one that I think is especially important now during this cycle, especially during this news cycle, with Hasan? It's a really important question. I don't think enough people are asking the question. And the question is, what value is Hasan Piker bringing to the Democratic Party? And I think that's an especially important question because if you're mad that party leadership are not defending Hasan from his own rhetoric, by the way, in the form of attacks from the Republican Party, if you're mad that Democratic Party leadership are not supporting and defending him, then I don't think you've asked that question. Like, what possible incentive would Cory Booker and Chuck Schumer and all these other prominent Democrats, John Ossoff, what possible incentive would they have to risk and stake their own reputation fighting a difficult fight? Because Hasan just makes it so easy for Republicans to weaponize his own rhetoric that's a risk. You're asking these Democrats to take
why should they or why would they?
There would have to be some value.
No, what are you asking? Why would they or why should they?
I'm saying there would have to be some value to the Democratic Party in order to do that, because otherwise you're just risking your own reputation. So the question is, what is that value? Like, what actual value does Hasan bring to the party?
You're asking me, or
well, I'm asking you generally. If you want to try to like answer that question, go for it. Just because that would, sure. that would be my criteria to determine if someone was an ally.
Is whether they're valuable.
Yes,
that's gonna be a problem for you, Hutch, because you're gonna be committed to some weird shit on certain Democrats who are unpopular, and so your notion of value is gonna be like, it's going to be tested. If that's your definition of allies, whether someone brings value to you.
Yeah, test me then.
If they bring value, and they have to demonstrate that, or that has to be their purpose.
Yeah, of course there would have to be demonstrated value. Yes.
Okay, and so
I'm in favor of cutting any Democrat. I'm in favor of cutting any Democrat.
So Biden, for example, in the context of 2024, not an ally.
I see where you're going.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Doesn't seem to be the notion that you accept
your own view. I think in the case of Biden, ally doesn't quite, like, he was the president and like the nominee. And so I don't know if that would apply in the same way. Like, we're trying to determine whether or not you want to enter into some kind of like joint agreement to defend each other or something like that. Like, the calculation would just be completely.
I'm just using the notion you provided, right? I'm just using the notion that you provided, right?
Well, like, I mean, you're pointing out an interesting, maybe an interesting flaw in my logic, and maybe I'm not smart enough to navigate that little wrench. But
you're smart. You're smart. I think the people, and guys, let's chill in the chat. Seriously.
Fuck you, chat. Fuck them. Let them get animated. Fuck you guys.
So yeah, I
don't
think you should like go for it.
I just, let's not stray from the question, because it's a really important question, right? I mean, you would agree, right, with the idea that if you're expecting or wanting the party, like the leaders of the party, to defend
and wanting.
Or wanting, right? Like, it doesn't matter. Like, in either case, if you either expect support and defense from the Democratic Party or you want support from the Democratic Party, you would agree, right? Obviously, you would need to, like, if you're in Hasan's spot, have demonstrated some value to justify the risk to their reputations.
So I'll answer both the expectation and then the kind of desire / normative aspect. I would agree that if you want to expect people like Cory Booker et al. To defend you, it's kind of like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. No one should expect these people to defend Hasan Piker. That's the expectation front. In terms of like whether it's a good thing for them to defend, I actually think that, like, whether you've demonstrated value in the past, maybe that factors some in terms of the future, but I think that they're also looking at like future value / detriment, right? Like, even if it's the case that he's shown value, and I'm going to be honest with you, right? I have an intuition about Hasan being a negative on a candidate in a general, but overall in the electorate, my intuition flips. And my intuition is just having like a handsome person activate people politically who are generally on the left. My intuition, again, without data, and we should get the data, someone should commission the data, is that all else equal, that will probably just activate more people and they'll vote for the more left-wing candidate.
We do have data.
That. That's just my vibe on what?
We do have data. We do have national polling from like 3 or 4 independent.
That's on his popularity. That's different. That's on his popularity. That's different than his effect on voters. That's different than his effect on voters and their decisions.
Well, I think we could draw a reasonable inference or deduction from negative polling.
That's some kind of empirical shit that someone needs to do. That's some kind of like thing that someone needs to think about. I'm not willing to just jump again. Maybe it's true.
Okay, I'll concede that point. Yes.
Yeah. So like I have an intuition that he's going to be a drag on a particular race in which he's heavily involved in the general, right? But my intuition flips on the net effect on voters, and these are just vibes that I'm telling at you. But even if that were all the case, right? Like, I almost think that what you do in the future should be dependent on like your intuitions about the effect he's going to have in the future. And on that, yeah, like why defend Hasan if it doesn't provide a benefit? I'm with you there. That's the same thing that you say, by the way, on Biden, right? You say, listen, if you want to throw Biden under the bus, if it's helpful, you've been the first to say, or Kamala, right? I think with Peltola in Alaska, you've said, like, I don't have a problem with her throwing Kamala under the bus or not accepting her.
Or Rob Sand in Iowa is another really good example. He's out here saying, like, he's shitting on the party, and I'm rooting for it because it's fucking Iowa.
I agree with you. Yeah. For me, like, consequences are going to be a big factor in like, should we help Hasan on something? And I'm not convinced that like full-throated defense of Hasan right now is in the best interest of the party. I mean, I know you're not convinced of that. And I'm sure that like past experience plays into that, but that's just kind of how I view the situation.
I mean, I think that's putting it mildly though, when you say you're not convinced of whatever sentence you just said, because like, it sounded like earlier you agreed with me that the Republicans are using Hasan to force essentially like a no-win situation, like in Michigan, and they're going to do. If you're
asking me what I would do, I wouldn't defend Hasan if I were a Democratic nominee. If you're asking me what I would do,
okay,
what I would suggest.
All right. Well, listen.
But I've never done that. I've never said that. Yeah.
Well, listen. I think you came to that conclusion because he doesn't bring any value to the party, or net value. You know, you could bring some value and have the negative stuff outweigh it.
Yeah, you could just go through it and be like, okay, yeah, fuck what he said, fuck him, whatever, and that decision benefits you as the candidate probably. But also, I don't have a problem also if someone makes a decision strategically that, you know, I don't agree with that statement, but I want to focus on MAGA. I think you would have a big issue with that statement. Would you?
No, I don't think. Well, listen, it's not about me.
Then we're aligned.
It's not about
me. I'm asking you. I'm having a conversation with you.
No, but I care about you. No. But that's the wrong question, because Abdul El-Sayed, he's not worried about getting my endorsement. He's got to get the endorsement of the various groups in Michigan politics that whose support he needs. And so if he's got different advocacy groups or state representatives, state senators, or like prominent Democrats in that state that are saying like, look, I want to endorse you, but I do not feel comfortable with your association with Hasan Piker, he's got to think about them. And so to that end, he's got to do, he probably should do a more forceful condemnation. So I think I'd take that back immediately. No, I don't think it's enough. Okay. Yeah.
So let's talk about Ossoff then. Let's talk Ossoff. Ossoff says, listen, guys, I don't give a shit about Hasan. All right. I'm focusing on the issues in my state, in Georgia, and that's Collins. Would you take an issue with that statement?
No, I would not. No, but
I think a lot of people in your audience would take an issue with that statement. One, if I'm right about that, chat. Two, if I'm wrong.
I guess like I want to see prominent Democrats like draw these lines, but it doesn't have to be everyone. You know what I mean? So if everyone took the view that or took the same approach as this hypothetical Ossoff, by just avoiding the confrontation or avoiding the question, then I think that would be bad for the party. I do think there needs to be a public, like right now, the Republican Party, they want normies to think that Hasan Piker is in the driver's seat of the Democratic Party. Do you agree with that?
The Republicans want the normies to think Hasan is some figure of esteem and repute within the party structure. Is that your question?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, stands to reason that we do need Democrats that are very publicly signaling to normies that this is not the case. And the only way that you can actually do that convincingly is a pretty forceful condemnation. I mean, it can't be mealy mouthed. It can't be like, oh, you're muting. You're muted. I can't hear you. What the fuck happened? Your mic is... Boomer technical issues. Why do people get weird about this? I have large hands. I am a large man, and I require large fluid receptacles. I see so many comments. It's not a vase. There's a fucking lid on top. How does that make sense? Vases don't have lids, do they? It's a carafe. It's a plastic carafe. I believe you would call this a half carafe, maybe. And it fits my large hands. I think you guys are weird for having your small hands and your small fluid receptacles.
Testing 1 to 3. All right, 1 sec.
Better.
Man, I gotta get back here. That was fucking hard. 1 sec. You can hear me, yes?
I can.
All right, 1 sec. And now you should be able to see me in a second. Oh. All right. What I was saying is, I don't know. I don't know whether a mealy-mouthed deflection will have one effect versus a full-throated, like, condemnation. I don't know that.
Well, let me tell you what I think, like, the ideal statement would be. Like, and this is just, I think, just true in politics across the board, is anytime a politician puts out any kind of a statement, there's always a reason for that. And what I think every politician is trying to do is like maximize good and minimize harm. And the harm in this situation would be any kind of perception from median voters that the party is essentially being led by Hasan Piker. And so in order to mitigate that harm, address that harm, it does need to have some kind of weight. Like, it can't just be like a throwaway. Like, I think Abdul's message that he put out the other day,
because Chuck Schumer can do no wrong. Right? Like, it kind of reminds me of the Chuck Schumer can do no wrong stuff, where it's like, well, if politicians are doing it, that's evidence that they have to do it or something. But it's like, why? Why do you have this strong belief?
Wait, I thought I was walking you through it. Would you? Oh, well, I guess we have to establish a few things. Like, do you agree that it would benefit Republicans if more normie voters than not held the view that Hasan is essentially like in the driver's seat of the party or holds a lot of...
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of a big deal, right? Like, the public perception of the party among normie voters. No, but I was going to get there. I was going to get there. Like, the ideal a statement, I think, in a lot of cases. And I guess it just depends on the electorate too, because maybe if you're in like you're a representative in an R+20 state and you're in like a D+5 district, maybe you need to be more forceful. But the ideal kind of like deflection or the addressing of the perception would involve a kind of deflection. So you say a strong statement, and then you find a way to end it with something like, but my Republican colleagues only want to have a conversation about Hasan Piker because they don't want to talk about the cost of gas and live. It would be something like that. It would be some kind of redirect as well.
Yeah, but like the thing is, I don't. So with respect to the ideal response, I almost feel like a deflection. This guy doesn't matter, or whatever. He's a Twitch streamer, like versus it is so profoundly unserious that he has any platform. Like it almost seems like putting too much of an emphasis on it. Some people could get the intuition that it implies like a stronger tie than actually exists or something.
Here's where
I don't know that that's the case. I just like, I don't know this. Right? Like, is a deflection better versus an outward condemnation in terms, and again, not in terms of like the underlying moral issue, just in terms of the effect on the electorate. That's all I'm saying. I don't know one has a stronger or less strong connection. It feels like having a strong condemnation almost puts it in the news more. So I don't know, but like that's just the vibe.
Well, here's where I think the problem is with that on this particular issue. I am assuming Abdul and his campaign did not put out that statement to proactively address things. I assume his office got inundated with calls from people that he's trying to court right now. Like he is right now in the state of Michigan trying to build a political coalition, which hopefully involves like a broad ideological spectrum. Like that would be, if you're running for a seat like that, you got to bring in you got to try to addition, no subtraction kind of a situation there. And the problem with Hasan's clip that's going viral is that regardless of his intent, and I'm not necessarily being charitable with his intent, it reads like a threat.
Yeah, neither am I.
It reads like a threat.
Yeah, I think it reads that way. Yeah.
The normal people, they hear that and they think, nice Judaism you got there. Sure would be a shame if something happened to it. Now, I'm not saying that's what he was doing.
I agree. I agree that that's how it reads too.
So if Abdul is getting inundated with calls from like Jewish advocacy groups and there's reporting on this, we now know that state representative Moss, the one who Hasan had his tweet on the screen when he was doing that whole fucking rant, they were negotiating an endorsement. And so I assume if Abdul is going to that guy for an endorsement, obviously Abdul sees value there. And
yeah, I think it was right for him to come out.
Now the reporting is that endorsement is imperiled. And so Hasan Piker literally possibly fucked up a really important endorsement in the state. And so for something like that, the reason why it can't be mealy-mouthed is the people that are expressing their concern and outrage about that Hasan clip, they're not going to be appeased by something that's like half in, half out.
So if you could demonstrate me some like very important endorsement, some very important benefit from some insider, I thought we were just like focusing on the effect on the independent with respect to the statement itself, not with respect to endorsements or other kinds of things. Yeah, obviously, if that's strong statement is needed to get some other constituency that's more sensitive to the disavow being forceful, then yeah, I would totally understand that. Yeah, but I just wasn't aware that that's what you were talking about.
But
do you have a problem with that statement?
But I feel like you can't disentangle the two. Like they go hand.
I just didn't know what you were referring to. I was understanding you to be asking about like independent voters.
Well, it's
both.
I mean, it's
normie voters.
Well, it's both.
No, that's what I thought you were asking about, Hutch. So if you bring up, it's not just them, it's also key stakeholders, then yeah, I could understand that. But I just didn't know that you were referring to that with your question. But did you have a problem with that side statement?
Yeah, I think it was bad. I don't know who that statement was for, because and Abdul put himself in a really dumb position, and it is frustrating because McMorrow and Stevens pointed this out when it happened. When they were watching him share the campaign stage with Hasan, both Stevens and McMorrow said, like, this is going to be a problem. And they were incredulous at the idea. Obviously, they were arrogant about it. Like, because you can't have a situation where you're doing campaign stops with Hasan, and then there's like 5 clips of you doubling down on that, or like 15, I don't even know. And then you're taking pictures with Hasan Piker at your victory party. Professional pictures, like the media, they wanted that relationship publicized. Like that's
no, but we're talking about the statement, right? So I get that.
I'm trying to set up like the reason why I don't think it was a good statement. Because if you put out a statement and like he does mention Piker by name in the tweet, but then you get to the statement itself, and he doesn't mention Piker by name and doesn't actually specifically reference anything that Piker said. And so if you're like a Jewish advocacy group and you're looking for a forceful condemnation, because you hold the sincere view that maybe what Hasan said is contributing to a climate of anti-Semitism, I imagine that they would not be very satisfied. And then it's also, you put yourself in the shoes of Hasan's base of support. And even though it was not a full-throated condemnation, or as I took it, I don't think it was, then they still see that as a betrayal. And so when I look at just the replies to that post, it just feels like it pissed everybody off. I don't know who the post was for. It's like, either do it or don't. I would have rather he not say anything.
Really?
Yeah, than that. I mean, I would rather him come out with a forceful condemnation and just like straight up say he has no part in this campaign.
It was a mistake to involve him ever.
I don't know if it's smart in politics to admit mistakes, but I mean,
that's what I'm saying. The kind of forceful condemnation that you're suggesting seems to be at odds with not admitting a mistake, which you obviously think that it was a mistake. But just putting that aside, is it like, imagine that he were to say, Hasan does not represent this party. He's a disgrace. He's an anti-Semite. He's a hateful person who supports terrorism. And that it was such a, and therefore he's a bad person. You wouldn't want that statement, right?
No, I don't think I would want it in that way.
So like, how can he win on your eyes? He either doesn't condemn it or he does this condemnation, but you actually don't want him to go too hard.
He can't.
What's the kind of statement you wanted?
Well,
it's crazy.
Well, the point is he can't win, and it's his own fault. That's the point.
So then why are you upset with the fucking apology? What would be better?
Because I want him to go with the least bad option. That's what I want. Okay, he put himself in this really stupid position of, publicizing his friendship with Hasan, doubling down, acting super defiant about it. And now they're doing these pathetic deflections of like, are we really talking about a Twitch stream?
That's a sunk cost. That all happened, right? So what should he have done at that moment? What would you have said that was good that he did this?
He needed to identify the language that was problematic, describe why it was problematic, affirm a commitment to Jewish people in the state that saw that comment, and
he said that he's as committed.
No, I'm just saying. Right. I know he said that. I'm just saying, like, I'm giving you all of the necessary components of what I think qualifies as like an adequate condemnation.
So quoting the thing that I see that's different than what he did and what you described so far, again, you can add other elements, is quoting specific parts of what Hasan said.
You don't need to quote it, but you need to reference this with specificity. Like the thing that made people uncomfortable or angry or whatever. Like you needed some degree of specificity. And when I read that message, it read like Abdul El-Sayed wanting it both ways. Like he wanted to assuage the concerns of people whose support he ostensibly needs in that race, but he didn't want to alienate Hasan's audience because he understands that.
This is why it feels like Goldilocks to me. Like I get that, but
it's his. But that's his fault. But that's his fault.
Yeah, whether it's his fault or not, right? It does feel like a no-win scenario because on the one hand, you wouldn't want him to be like, Hasan is a Maoist. It's clear he doesn't care about democracy. It's clear he supports terrorism. It's clear that he wants to destroy the Democratic Party. You would like not want him to say all that shit.
I wouldn't want him to say that because it would be completely inauthentic coming from him. And so, obviously that would just be, people would be like, what the fuck is this?
And saying nothing, like, let's be honest, saying nothing would be like something that you, all else equal, don't want to happen.
No, I don't want that to happen.
The critique we've landed on is like, Well, it should be kind of a middling condemnation, but it should have been a little less middling than what he actually did.
I don't think it should be. No. I wouldn't use that language. I don't think it should be middling. I think it should be. I think it should directly address the concerns that people had as a result of that clip, and I don't think that statement did. Do you get the same sense? Do you agree with me? Like, I think that Abdul saw that like the grassroots online support that he got from that space was probably like really crucially important to that campaign, and
in the primary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so to me, it really did seem like he was making an effort to only go so far to not alienate Hasan and his audience.
Yeah, he wants to do everything. He doesn't want to admit to a mistake. He doesn't want to do a condemnation that's, in other words, not do a condemnation that's so forceful that it's totally out of coherence with what he campaigned in the primary with. He doesn't want to alienate too much his base, even though I think that's kind of like whatever. He also wants to say something. And so that's like, I don't know. I feel like yes, maybe it was a mistake to ever campaign with the primary. Although, would he have won?
Maybe.
Do you think that Hasan would have, but for the Hasan engagement, that El Sayed would have won?
Maybe not, but at what cost? Like if campaigning with Hasan Piker gets you over the finish line in a primary, but it leads to a loss in the general, that's obviously not good or smart. We can't. We would never give credit for someone winning a primary if they lose the general. We would just never do that, right?
But what you're suggesting is that there's at least some evidence, perhaps, given how close the race was, that Hasan may have been outcome determinative. At least,
yeah, maybe. Honestly, yes. Honestly, yes. But that's a devil's bargain. That's devil's bargain, bro. Like, you're going to pay for that in the future. Yeah.
Right, but that's a sunk cost. And so when we get to the actual statement, now it's like, oof, walking that tightrope. It seems like a very difficult endeavor. And even you acknowledge that. And so giving him so much grief over, oh, you didn't specifically state that this seemed to be, a threat. Like, really? Is that the big complaint? It doesn't really seem to be the big complaint that most people, I will say, in the WIC class have. I think the people in the WIC class are like, you should have disavowed him completely and utterly, but you don't go that far.
Wait, are you asking me if I think that Abdul should disavow him completely, Hasan?
Yeah, you didn't think that he should have.
No, 1000% he should. I just took issue with the language that you chose. He should.
Oh, so
absolutely.
Should he say, I disavow Hasan completely?
Yes, he should signal that he is cutting ties with Hasan, and he should have done this the fucking moment the primary was over, instead of taking fucking professional photographs with him. It's like when he did that, do you understand that was him? That was arrogance. You understand that? That was him being arrogant. You guys were wrong. You guys tried to get me to abandon like my friend and this movement. That was purposeful. I don't know how else to explain like allowing a professional photographer from the AP to take a picture like that. That wasn't an accident.
How does that look? So you win the campaign with Hasan, in your mind, at least plausibly being outcome determinative, and then you immediately, without any prompting, like, I disavow Hasan Piker on the night of your election. Like,
well, if you
how does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It doesn't. But that highlights the point that I'm making, which is that it doesn't make sense to feature Hasan or to campaign.
But that's priced in, right? That's
right. That's priced in. But everything cascades from there. So like, there's nothing but bad options once you decide to do that, because the tax man's going to come and collect his fucking due. And that's exactly what the fucking Republicans, like, you took on a debit when you did that, Abdul. You took on a fucking debit. And the Republicans are, showing up to collect that right now. And if I had to guess right now in this moment, Abdul probably regrets what he did.
Okay, but all right, maybe he does. Although, would he, if it was necessary for his victory in the primary? I don't think he would regret it. Would you? Would you regret it?
If I did something that helped me win a primary, but was the reason why I lost a general, of course I would regret it.
No, but like, I think he thinks he's going to win. I think he wants to win.
Well, he obviously wants to win, but he obviously thinks thinks that the Hasan stuff is hurting those chances now. So it's like,
yeah, agreed. But he's also not disavowed Hasan totally as a person. And I think that your inclination there, it's running into the same problem. If he disavows Hasan as a person, they're like, okay, what made you change your mind from taking his picture and disavowing him? It's like, oh, he said this one thing. Oh, so it wasn't when he called Orthodox Jews inbred. It wasn't when he said, "I don't like." Do you understand how
he would have
horrible that would look?
He would have to somehow convey authentic concerns about, like, he would have to authentically validate Jewish Michiganders' concerns. And, you know, hopefully it would be authentic. It would be sincere. He would listen to people speak, explain their experience, explain why they think that that language puts them at risk. And ideally he would take that in and realize, like, yeah, they have every right to be concerned. It makes sense to me. And then communicate that. You know, I don't know if that's what's going on over there right now. I can't explain what Abdul is doing. It doesn't make sense to me.
What would be more assuring to the Jewish community than throwing this motherfucker under the bus completely, totally, utterly?
Well, that's what I think he should do. What do you mean?
But okay, so then give me the statement he should come out with tomorrow.
I'm not a fucking speechwriter, but like, you don't need to like.
But the kind of thing, like, he should come out and say,
"I'm giving you what I think whatever the language is. I'm giving you what I think the goals of the message should be, which is to assuage the fears of people that have concerns, validate them, and put distance." Like put distance there and make sure people.
I think that's what the statement did. I think the statement it serves its purpose. It's not admitting a mistake. It's to head off any kind of question he might be asked on, like Fox or something. He could be like, "Listen, I did not agree with that statement. I came out against it forcefully, but you know, this is not the issue." Like, he wants to be able to say that, and to deflect.
It's not working.
Was for.
It's not working.
Okay.
It's not. You know, it's not going to work. And you know, Hasan himself.
Will the alternative work? Will the alternative work of disavowing totally, will that work better?
I don't know if it might be too late. I don't know if it would work.
Then how can you say you disagree with his statement if you don't know anything about whether it would be better to do the complete disavowal?
Because my calculation is that the statement that he put out was worse than the least bad option. The least bad option is validating, like, the people who have, like, he is, you understand, like, he is courting the support of Michigan Democrats. He's trying to get as many endorsements as possible. His numbers were awful with Jewish voters in that primary with Stevens. So he's got work to do. And the way that you do that is you secure endorsements from politicians that Jewish Michiganders respect and have credibility, that have credibility to those voters. And now, like, a really important endorsement on that front is now in jeopardy. And so, like, the statement that he puts out, in my opinion, was like half in, half out. And then on top of that, you got this fucking moron Hasan, who's on his stream the same day saying, "Don't worry, guys, you know, Abdul still agrees with me on this stuff. He's not." It's just like, it's like, what are you doing? And it's like, and so I get the sense, like, right now, that both of them there's too much ego going on for, like, both of them. There's way too much ego and arrogance on the part of Abdul.
Both looking out for their self-interest.
That is not what I look for in politicians. These are not qualities that I value.
Well, he also wants to win the race, right? So I just mean in terms of winning the race. He wants to win the race.
Well, I assume so. Yeah, I think that's a safe assumption. But,
right. You know, so given that, I mean, before you were like, well, given the fact that they're coming out and saying something, don't you think it's negative? Don't you think that they've done this calculus? And why wouldn't you defer to their... It seems like you're willing to defer on the fact that they do saying anything, that they've done some sort of, like,
I don't
sound analysis that it's hurtful.
I'm saying at this point, I don't trust Abdul El-Sayed's judgment. I'm saying at this point, he has demonstrated enough, like, he's made enough mistakes, and he in my view continues to make these mistakes in a way that makes me really question his judgment. I said the same thing about Plattner. Like, that was my number one issue with Plattner. As soon as the stuff started coming out, was like, wow, this guy seems to have horrible judgment, and he seems to be, like, gravely miscalculating. And, you know, and I have the same kind of.
Well, I guess he calculated correctly if you think that he was important to the win. It sounds like if he listened to you, he would have lost.
Latner?
El Sayed.
Well, sure, maybe, but like I don't understand the point that you're making when you say that, because to me, if like it doesn't matter if Hasan helps you win a primary, if he's the reason why you lose a general and he's now fucking up really important endorsements in the state, that doesn't justify the decision to do it in the first place. It's myopic and short-sighted.
I would agree that if you think that this is going to be a huge like weight on you in the general, and that's the only way you're going to win,
right? It already is.
Fuck that, right? Yeah. But if you think that, like I do, that he still has a good chance of winning, maybe you think differently about that. The last question I'll have, and then I'll let you go. I know that I sprung this on you. I thank you for being game or whatever. But what's the name of the guy, the endorsement that you just referenced? I forget his name. Or
something Moss.
Okay. Would you condemn if he doesn't endorse El Sayed?
No.
Why?
Because I'm not going to tell a Jewish person that.
Oh, you're doing this?
I am, and I did the same thing with Palestinians in 2024. I'm not going to be some white Gentile, telling a Jewish person, get over it, bro. I'm not going to do it. And I didn't lecture Palestinians with a direct tie to Gaza. You can call me a coward. It's just, I don't. If other people want to fall on that sword, fine. I've had private conversations that people that reached out to me, and I've told people privately, like, if you want to be this person that wants to like criticize Palestinians in that way, go for it. But that you're taking on a big old optics load.
On right your there. Standard, you said key endorsement, right? And if Hasan said, "Well, I'm a Muslim, and I see all these Muslims who are being, so I'm not going to endorse Kamala because all these Muslims being hurt."
If Hasan was like a completely different person,
you would not accept the identity politics from Hasan as a justification. And you said this guy was a key endorsement.
I don't think everything is like cynical identity politics. Like, I don't think it's identity politics to say that, that someone like Abdul Al Sayed should have to like address these concerns, Like,
no, we're talking about the decision to endorse or not endorse, right? There's one standard for this person in Michigan, right? And you're like, I'm not going to condemn for not endorsing. But and you were like, because I would never condemn a Jewish person for failing to endorse someone who walked with Hasan Piker. But if Hasan Piker invoked the same kind of identity politics, which by the way, a lot of these these Muslims in Michigan did. No, come on. You would not accept that from Hasan Piker.
No, I wouldn't.
These Muslims, it's a genocide. You would not accept that.
Pisco, what you're doing right now is you're like, well, what if the situation that we're in right now is a completely different situation? Like, what if Hasan Piker was a completely different person? And it's like, okay, you can. The one is the convenient I win card. Hasan Piker is not a Muslim, and
the one is the rationale. But like, if you were to say, if anyone, right? Like, let's say that it were. He's not a true Muslim, I guess.
You can go back and check the tape. You can go back and check the tape. Okay. In 2024, there were times on the stream and stuff that I expressed frustrations, but I did the people that were here in my chat heard me say, like, I'm not going to be the one to like torch Rashida Tlaib on the timeline because, you don't
condemn her on not supporting Kamala?
Well, I condemn her for like a lot of other reasons. And
no, on that.
I
condemn. I'll say right now, I condemn her for not endorsing Kamala Harris. That was a selfish, destructive act, and it was evil. I'll say it.
Well, I think like I've become more familiar with Rashida Tlaib since the election, and I think like maybe if I was more familiar with her, I would have taken like a stronger tone. But I did say at the time, like, look, I get it. Like, if you have family in Gaza and it's your sincerely held belief that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris by proxy are enabling a genocide, then, this is politics. And so it is the job of the candidate to earn that support. And, I happen to also think that Kamala Harris was in a bit of a no-win situation there because, like, no matter what way she could have gone, that she was going to piss off a lot of people that she was going to for endorsements. And she inherited all that from Biden. And so, like, again, at the end of the day, like 95% of my anger over the campaigns and like losing to Donald Trump is reserved for Biden. I don't think it's fair to put that on Kamala Harris's lap.
Or on Hasan Piker.
What do you mean?
So like you would apply the same you apply a different standard to Rashida Tlaib than Hasan Piker because Hasan Piker is not Palestinian, right? And in your mind, not a Muslim, right?
He's not Palestinian and he's not a Muslim. No.
So that's why you treat him differently than Rashida Tlaib.
Of course.
On the basis of race.
No, not even just that, by the way. It's also like we know how Hasan works. And so like my problems with Hasan go far beyond his identity. It has nothing to do with his identity. Like, I don't think about him as like his secularism or leftism that is like the reason why he's pissing me off right now. It's like the actions that he takes, the strategy that he employs, and the levels of deception that he constantly traffics in every fucking day. So like the shit that he was saying about the Democratic Party and Kamala go well beyond what I consider to be like the acceptable boundaries of critique. He was comparing her to Adolf Hitler, Pisco. So like that
I'm just comparing the like for like. I mean, yeah, granted, there's other bad stuff, but on the endorsement front, is it really all these other things plus the lack of endorsement? But if he didn't do those things and didn't endorse, he wouldn't critique. I would come at him hard for that too, right? Like I don't know why
if you want to be the guy,
I will. I am
to jump on Twitter and lecture Jewish people about their duty. Go for it. I'm not jumping in that fucking.
You're saying I'm going to treat
Aldrin.
What you're doing is you're saying I don't want the smoke, and so I'm going to treat people of a particular race or religion differently in terms of my standards. I don't think I'm by definition racist. I'm not saying you are. I mean that's like a racial standard. That's like an ethnic standard, right?
Hang on a minute. No, this is just
absolutely is.
No, this is politics. This is coalition building, and like I think Abdul El-Sayed and Hasan are finding out the hard way that you can't win in a state like Michigan in a race like that by just pandering to your like online base of support. He needs help. He needs help from people that have, in my view, very legitimate concerns about like what like the consequent, like the kind of leadership that Abdul will use, whether or not he will take their perspectives into consideration. Like I don't fault people for who are so like invested in a particular issue that they use that kind of leverage in a way that tries to move people. When I look at like the uncommitted movement, there's all kinds of issues that I have with their rhetoric, the way that they went about it, but I don't begrudge them for trying to create a leverage point to affect a better outcome for a place where maybe they have family and there's just like all this death. I don't think I'm being unreasonable or,
I think it is. I think you're giving an out for people to just be like, well, I have a particular interest in a given community. And so because I have a particular interest in a given community,
it's no, wait.
I'm not going to vote for the right candidate. And
you're saying that I have
because of their.
No, you're mischaracterizing what I'm saying. I'm not saying I have like a special investment in Jewish people above other groups.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm saying you treat different. You will give a pass to people if they cite some identity-based reason for why they can't bring themselves to support someone. So if someone said to you, well, I can't support Kamala because I have family in Gaza, you'd be like, okay, that makes sense. And if someone said to you, well, I'm a Muslim, and so it really affects me when I'm seeing all these images out of Gaza, you'd be like, okay, I'm not going to condemn that statement. But then but you would if someone who didn't have that trait. That's like by definition, I think racist, right? At least the standard.
You're out of your mind.
Don't you see that? Don't you see that? Wait.
I don't. Listen, I live in reality, and different groups, minority groups, ethnic identities, religious identities, like that are active in politics will, of course, use their collective voting power to try to influence like better outcomes.
That's just descriptive. Yeah, I mean, I agree. That's just a descriptive.
It's not racist.
I'm not asking descriptive.
It's not racist. Do you think that's
No, but
racist?
You won't
that,
condemn them, right?
well, do you think it's racist for these different groups to do that?
For them to care more about their own racial group than other racial groups? Yes.
What?
Right?
No, I'm saying to prioritize the interests of
one racial group over another. Yes, that's racist.
Pisco, you don't possibly mean that, because if you mean that, then, for example, you think that it was racist for black people to, do activism against Jim Crow.
No.
You don't think that, right?
To get on equal footing, that's something else. But if there's some other kind of like, well, no, these kind of interests just matter more. You don't think that kind of interest.
You don't think Jewish people combating what they very sincerely believe to be a very alarming rise in anti-Semitism is them trying to get
they might not be no they might not be Jewish supremacists. I'm not saying that, but you're applying a different standard to their failure to do the good thing, right? The correct, morally correct thing, right? You think that it's morally correct for these people to vote for El Sayed, right? Whoever these people are, whoever the holdouts are.
In a blanket kind of way, of course, yeah. I would want everybody to hold that view, but at the same time, I don't understand what you're calling racist. That's what I'm getting hung up on.
Saying like, okay, everyone should vote for El Sayed, and I'll condemn people who don't vote or endorse Al Sayed, but I'll withhold it if you're like a Jewish advocacy group. That to me sounds like an inconsistent standard.
I don't listen. Not everybody that withholds their vote to try to create a leverage point. Surely you would agree that not all of those actions we should treat as equal. Like surely you would agree that there could be examples of this where the people are just not they're not making.
I'll understand it more.
Either they're not making like realistic demands, or maybe some of their underlying premises are incorrect. Like I'm not saying it's all justified.
Okay, so I'll clear it up. Instead of using the term condemnation, will you advocate that this group or this person endorse El Sayed?
I mean, I always do that.
You should do it. Okay. All right.
I think
we're good. I think we cleared it up.
I always do that. I mean, like I donated $25 to the 7 close Senate races. I took a screenshot of that and posted it on the internet. And the goal was to set an example. Like if anybody follows me and they think I have any credibility, then maybe they'll do the same thing. And so like, of course I support Abdul El Sayed, but I'm not going to lecture groups like Palestinian groups
because
in 2024,
right? Because of their ethnicity.
Well, what right do I have to tell any group of people that feel very earnestly that their interests matter a lot, and maybe they don't feel safe in this country, maybe they don't
the same right you have to lecture Hasan, the same right you feel to lecture.
No, Hasan is motivated. Hasan is motivated by ideology and ego. That's different from, I think, Jewish Michiganders that are alarmed that, for example, in 2025, 50% of the hate crimes in this country were against Jewish people when they represent 2% of the population. So if you're a Jewish person and you're like, shit, I don't know.
You called it a key endorsement.
Like, so surely you understand that a Jewish person could come to the rational conclusion that their personal safety matters more than like getting a public option done or even like blocking the Trump administration. Like if you're, so I'm not gonna just like, I am not gonna lecture.
What about ending a genocide is more important than tyranny in America?
I just told you, Pisco, that I did the same thing in 2024.
Okay,
that's why I didn't like.
I thought you just had smoke for like the unaligned movement and the uncommitted movement, but it sounds like you only don't if they themselves share that identity. It sounds like people who, if it was like a white person who had that rationale, you'd be like, fuck you have to vote for Kamala. But if it's a Palestinian person, you're like, no, I won't criticize you. Right?
Are you talking about white advocacy groups?
No. If a white person says, I can't vote for Kamala, the genocide, you'll be like, fuck you should have voted. But if a Palestinian says, it's a genocide, I can't vote for Kamala, you'd be like, I won't critique you. Right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
We're looping, but Josiah wanted you to read his full Diet MAGA thing. He said, 50 minutes behind, there was more than what was read. Please read the rest. Love you both. Heart.
Get in the call, man. I don't have time to read all this. All right, are we done?
Yeah. Okay, you don't want to read it. All right.
I mean,
Hutch.
I don't know what he wants me to read specifically.
The Diet MAGA, by definition, not equivalent posts, he said. But if you don't want to, that's okay. I don't have it.
It just feels like there were like so many disparate threads. I don't know which one he's talking about. So,
all right. Well, people can go read it and judge for themselves. Sorry, Josiah. I do appreciate the convo, Hutch.
Wait, hold on, real quick. I usually don't take cues from chat, but I just saw something in my chat that was like a really good question.
Yeah.
Would you condemn sexual assault victims if Plattner had stayed in the race and they said they didn't want to vote for Plattner?
Yeah.
You're a sociopath, or
I just bit that book. Wait, I might have different language for them. I would maybe be like, I certainly would, because I'm a human, but I would condemn that action, right? So
I have a hard. I'm a bit incredulous.
So would you, right?
No, wait, absolutely not. Like, what? No, Pisco. If a rape victim was like, I am not comfortable voting for Plattner, I would not say like, well, you owe it to America and Maine. I'd be like, fuck. I mean, listen, I get it. It's fucking rapist. You know, like, obviously, it's just like, no. I
thought we were about harm reduction here. It seems like you have some other.
Yeah, but I'm not a psychopath at the same time. Like, and I just what possible good could come from that condemnation?
I think that you can. I think that there's enough for you to be like, okay, you can be more political about it, but you would condemn the action as morally wrong, even if you don't use the term condemnation. You'd be like, that was a wrong thing to do, right? You would acknowledge that would be a wrong thing to do, right? And whatever.
No.
Okay, I don't agree.
I would not look at that action and think, well, you did a wrong thing. I'd be like, fuck, I'd probably do the same thing if I was them.
No, that's not the question, is whether you would do the same thing. The question is, would it be the wrong thing to do?
Wrong.
The answer is it would be the wrong thing to do, right?
Wrong from whose perspective, I guess. I don't know. Like, listen,
from your perspective.
That's why, sweet Pisco, I am walking away from imposing blue no matter who on anyone else. That's my position.
Why? Why? That was one of your raison d'etres. That's one of your
wait,
organizing principles.
I will continue to vote blue no matter who. I'm not wavering from that principle. I'm just not going to spend any time trying to browbeat anyone or impose that standard on anyone else, because I've just come to the conclusion after doing this for fucking years of the same conversations. I've never had a productive conversation about this in that way. Trying to impose it on someone, it's always been useless, bad, just a waste of time. It just doesn't. It's just, there's no.
If you feel that
point
it's not convincing, then that's okay. That's one thing. If you think it's not convincing people, but I do think you still hold to that. I think you don't just hold it for yourself. You hold other people to that too, in terms of how you judge them.
No longer. Well, it depends.
Of course you would. You would judge people for.
It's a case by case.
Would you?
I would not. I would not judge a rape victim for not voting for Grant Plattner. I just wouldn't. In a million years, I would. How could I possibly judge that if I think I would probably do the same thing? What right do I have to judge them?
Would you judge a genocide hater for voting against, with their mind, someone who helps a genocide?
My issue with that person might be the calculation that they come to, but I don't begrudge them for like having that reaction, especially if they have a personal or familial tie to Gaza.
I do begrudge them. I begrudge them. I might treat them a little softer if there's a personal connection. I might not even seek out those conversations. And yeah, maybe that is a double standard. But in terms of measuring the underlying action, yes, that's the wrong thing to do. It's wrong. In the same way that, like, yeah, you can understand how someone in a cult like MAGA, right? They're going to, on their notion, right? They think that the Democrats have all imposed themselves on them. They've had family members who they think have been like, totally victimized by the Department of Justice because they're Jan 6ers. Now you'd be like, I disagree with all the facts. And I doubt that you would say, but I understand them and I won't judge them. I think that you would judge them.
I think on my better, I think on my better days, like I oftentimes tell my chat, I got a little bit older and I think about people and politics like a little differently. I am definitely not a saint and I get really pissed off at people. Obviously, I've been fighting on Twitter for like 5 days with people because I just feel like I'm venting at this point because I'm fucking so pissed off. But on my good days, like if I was born in Alabama, for example, in like a rural area, I'd probably be MAGA. And so on my better days, I try to remember that. And it's easier for me to do that with like people that I'm more proximate to.
Who are MAGA, right? So I mean, like, so you actually do have a connection there. Yeah.
Yeah. After years of like fighting family members on politics, I finally reached a point where I realized that number one, I wasn't going to change their mind. And number two, I was making myself miserable, perpetuating this delusion that I could change their mind. And so I accepted their politics, and now we basically never fight. And it's great. And so
they must be destroyed, Hutch. They must all be. I'm just kidding. Dude, great convo. I appreciate it a lot, and I love you, dog. And I love the shirts. I love everything about you.
They're a little wrinkly. I should have ironed it a little bit, but yeah. All right. Well, listen, it was good talking to you, and I'll talk to you later.